everyone, and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build video. And today I am creating Dracula's castle. Well, not really, not technically, because a lot of sites do say the real life Vladimir Dracula didn't actually stay in this castle that often. His name, the castle is actually called Bran Castle, of the people of Bran. And it was long, thought of, I did an entire history search about this, and let's see if I can remember. But it was actually thought of being part of the Bran people, and over time it is being, considered, is this part of Hungary, or is it a part of Romania? But since at the current time, Transylvania, hence Bran Castle lies within the lines, the country lines of Romania, I decided that I will build this in RAVENWOOD, because as soon as I found that we'll get in a Romanian-styled world, specifically Transylvania, I was like, I know it's about ghosts, I know it's about death, but the first thing I think of when I think of Transylvania, I think of Vladimir Dracula. So I was like, okay, I have to. It's like, okay, and you're probably thinking, EmeraldStories, you're being a bit pretentious, because why are you, trying to, say, Vladimir's name like that? And it's because I've only ever heard it, to say Dracula, I can say it, but as soon as you put the Vladimir in front, it just wants to go Vladimir Dracula. So, because that's all I ever heard of it in, media and stuff like that. So it's literally like rolling out the tongue. I'll try and stuff, because I can understand how, it sounded a little bit pretentious. But yeah, as soon as I found out that we were gonna get Transylvania and a Romanian-styled world, I was just like, okay, this is my time to shine. I have always, for a long time, been interested in making this castle, Dracula's castle, but it's always been kind of off in my mind, just because, one, I hate building big builds, shock horror. A lot of my builds are quite big, but I don't necessarily like building big continuous builds. I can make maybe a village, I can make a city, I can make other things like that, different types of residences or offices. I can even make a shopping mall. I've been thinking of doing that for the Christmas season, because what is Christmas if not without capitalism? And I was just those are things that I can in my mind interpret to make. But when it comes to castles, or when it comes to mansions specifically, I really do struggle, because it is the continuation of the exact same thing. I struggled so hard to do the interior design of this that I think I may have also bought and I went overboard, because when you are building a build, it really does not look as expansive or as great as it does interior wise until you actually go into first person mode and you're like, oh, this is actually quite filled. So it was another one of the issues I mainly get. And then another one of the issues, I do off camera build quite big builds, but the only reason those work is because I'm using CC. I get really, I'm not saying that we don't have a lot of objects. We've actually got a lot of objects in The Sims 4, quite a bit. So it's not that I'm struggling for objects, and it's not like I think that we should have necessarily a medieval pack, because we do have castle, I'll tell you about all the packs that I mainly use in order to achieve that kind of medieval aesthetic. But it's not that I'm saying that we need more medieval inspired stuff, but it's more of I just get so tired of the exact same aesthetic. It's why I avoid castles and mansions. It's I want to move on. Maybe if this was a small Romanian village or something like that, I could feel a little bit more inspired, because maybe one of the reasons is that normally when I'm building villages and cities, I don't actually decorate every single house. I normally decorate the main house or the biggest house, and the other houses I leave it up to you guys to do whatever. So maybe that's another reason why I don't necessarily like building castles or mansions, because I know I have to decorate everything. But it's also because I have not grown up rich. I've grown up working class, and I think my parents have now allowed me to be middle class under them. But I am a jobless person actively looking for a job at the moment, so I would not classify myself. The job market is hot, guys. But I would not classify myself as rich at all. So when I was growing up, I grew up in a council flat, right? And there was only what you needed. You had a kitchen, you had a living room, you had 2 bedrooms, and you had separated bath and toilet. That's what we had. And then as we've moved houses over the years, we've only ever had exactly what we needed. Even now, the house we live in is a kitchen dining area, but we just have like loads of fridges. That's the Zimbabwean. We just have loads of fridges. One just purely for like frozen foods, and the other one frozen foods and normal foods, and the other one just normal. It's a thing. But yeah, like that's how I've kind of just lived throughout my life with just the basics of a house, and I'm so grateful for that. Don't think I will ever complain about that. Like, to have now, as I'm struggling trying to get a job and really move on with my life and everything like that, I really do see the great things that you can have just having the basics, like just having a house and having a job, regardless of what that job is just, it means so much more than like when you go into school, when you're in secondary school, you just see all of your richer friends and stuff, and like, oh my God, isn't it so nice that you have this house and you have this things and you have this things. But it's like, even to just have a house by itself and to just have a job and have something that pays you is just, it's just something. So anyway, off of my tangent, off of how I lived. But I do not complain about the way I've grown up. I actually really enjoyed the way I've grown up. I really, looking back, enjoyed living in the flat. Do I still get terrible nightmares about my time in the flat? Yeah, I do, just because everyone used to say my flat was the haunted one. So yeah, it was a formidable time in my life that really drove my nostalgia and my paranoia. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I've never lived in a house where we've had to have rooms that aren't necessities. Like I said before, kitchen, bedrooms, all of those are necessities. That's what you need in a house. But I've never had a house where we could have like a hobbies room or a gym or anything like that. And then so it's difficult for me to make mansions because I'm always making rooms and I'm like, but you've got everything. Why is there still so much space for more things to happen? Especially when it comes to bedrooms. You know how much I hate bedrooms. When I make a bedroom, I'm just like, okay, you got a bed, you got side tables, you got a closet. You good, no? And then I just have to research so many types of bedrooms. And people sometimes have sofas in there. Some people have vanities in there. But then sometimes they'll just have this vanity room. So then it's like, why is your bedroom so big then? Because clearly you've got a wardrobe and a vanity area. And you got a separate bathroom. So I was like, it's really difficult for mansions in my head to conceptualize them. And then it's made even worse when they're made beautiful. Because then I'm like, okay, well, I can't put a gym. And we don't really have enough stuff for me to create almost like a weaponry kind of room. Like I could try and make a weapons room, but it'll be very like empty because we don't have many things to do with weaponry. We've got like those knights that I do kind of plop around in this build, and we do have like those swords, those armored swords and stuff like that, but that's just about it. So I was just like, okay, I can't really put a gym, can't really put a cinema room, couldn't put a theater if I'm feeling a bit lavish. But again, another problem that came around, especially doing this type of castle, this is my biggest castle that I've ever done, because the other castle I have, the medieval castle that's on my channel, that was on a 50x50 lot in Henford or Bagley. This is on a 64 by 64, and it's very rare that I do a 64 by 64, but it was needed because I had to really do the elevation of the castle. But yeah, I just really did struggle with, thinking, what do I put in this castle? But then in the end, I ended up realizing, especially as I was doing the tour, like, oh, there's actually not that much stuff within this castle. I kind of just like, I was worried over nothing. That's what I came to realize, because everything that's in this castle, it's fitted, it's needed. And I feel like I made just enough rooms. Like there is, a discussions room for all of the council members of Dracula's home. There is the servants' quarters, there is a ballroom, there is a long table, there is multiple sitting quarters, there is a library, and there's multiple bedrooms. So it's like I did manage to put everything that I would imagine would be in Dracula's castle inside of this castle. Now, as I was speaking before about the elevation of this castle, that is what draws in a slight issue. I really love how this came out. And it's not like a consistent thing that I would say, like, it's going to grind your gears. But I will say that there is the issue that since this is on quite a high elevation, it does pose the struggle of the camera bouncing out occasionally when you turn around, especially when you're using Sims 3 camera, which is what I use. The camera will bounce out on occasion. When you're trying to if you're trying to redecorate or you're trying to like look into a room or something, I tried to look online to see how I could fix this. And apparently you could go, I'm not going to say the full thing because I think, I forgot the channel's name. It's the same channel that did the Icelandic. No, it wasn't Icelandic. It's the same channel that did the South Korea, build for a build competition. If I can find their name, I'll try and link them down below. Oh, it looks so pretty here. Because it matches like the aesthetic of the houses around them. I love that. But yeah, anyway, so I tried to watch the video and they said something about going into the bin files and changing certain things to say true. I won't try and take away the viewers. So if you want to watch that, go and watch that. And I did all of that. And all it did is that when I changed the level, I don't think this is no fault in them. This is no fault in them. But when I change the levels, it won't bounce me up to the level I've changed it to. So if I'm on level 1 and I page up to level 3, it won't bounce me up to level 3. Like I have to physically drag my camera up to level 3, which is not a massive issue. But I was imagining originally when I searched it up for how to fix the camera bouncing that it would, like how to ignore whatever's causing the camera to bounce out. Because I thought originally maybe it's because I'm on the highest level, I'm on the roof level. Maybe that's the reason why it's bouncing out. But then as I went on the first level, it still would bounce out. So I was like, okay, this is not necessarily a level issue. This is it is a level issue, but it's not like a floor level issue. It is probably because the terrain is just so high and it doesn't really know what to do with itself. So it's just bouncing out. But beyond that, I feel like that's one of the issues. And I'll say again, because I'm going to be very transparent with my builds where I can be. Another issue I will say with this build, as pretty as it looks, if you guys can have cheats enabled, I recommend that beyond anything because the climb to get to the actual entrance, it is high. And you know what? It is fairly realistic to how to get into an actual castle because Bran was made as a defense castle, was made for defense. And I didn't truly like showcase that with the building because there's only so much you can do whilst trying to also make it aesthetically pretty and everything like that. But originally Bran Castle was made as a castle for defense. So with that being said, and there's also a lot of more elements within the castle I don't describe, like the little area. Like I tried to include a chicken coop where there was more areas when it comes to farming within the castle, and there was also monasteries and stuff like that. These are all things that I do not include in the build, but it was made as a defense castle. By the way, there is actually not a lot of videos because I was trying to listen to videos about Bran Castle building, but there were mainly walkthroughs, and when I would actually actively watch the walkthroughs, I would look at them and be like, this is not something I would be able to truly replicate. I think at most I can just honor it by trying to make the outside look as similar to Dracula's castle than anything else. So that's what I did. I tried to make the look very high and mighty, try and put all the trees that surround it. And now you're probably thinking, why is there water there? And it's like, it's really difficult. I've never been to this castle, so anything I would either look at Google Images or look at walkthroughs and stuff like that, and I'll be like, okay, is there a moat here or is there not a moat here? Because I would imagine in a defense castle, there will probably be a moat so you can draw the bridge up. So if anyone is trying to come after your castle, not only are you on a higher gradient, but they can't enter because there's a body of water around them. So they can't necessarily tunnel under to get to the castle either. So I was like, okay, is there a moat here? But then I was looking at other images and I was like, there's not a moat here. It just kind of looks like it's like a steep climb to get to the castle. But then I was thinking, what I know of castles, specifically Motte and Bailey castles, which we have quite a bit of in the UK, I was like, you kind of need a moat because they will dig under, and they have this habit of digging under toilet areas and trying to get you through the most vulnerable aspect of your day. So I was just like, oh, there is a lot I can't necessarily do in terms of replication. So I was just like, okay, I'll do what I can and have it aesthetically as pleasing as I can. So what do you also see as I'm now decorating the courtyard, but you'll see when it comes to the interior, I originally had it as white walls because that's what I see when I look at images of Bran Castle. But then the white walls just created this sense of emptiness that I didn't particularly vibe with. So I ended up removing those white walls and did make them stone. And it just made me think again, no, it's exactly like my other medieval castle. But the problem is we're trying to do a castle one-to-one, specifically Bran Castle, is that unlike castles that I've built offhandedly, like the medieval one, again, I keep talking about it, but unlike the medieval one that I've built offhandedly, or the other castles I've seen, or even churches, they have enormous windows. Bran Castle does not. And I understand why it doesn't. To have enormous windows in a defense castle would be very, like, it will be very, what's the word? It will be very, it just wouldn't be beneficial for what the castle entails to do for its residents, because anyone could just come along with a cannon or some really big rocks or anything along and smash those windows, because we didn't have double pane back then. We didn't have triple pane. We had maybe thick glass, but not thick enough that if you had a cannon, you could go, like, you know, break that glass. So it wouldn't have been beneficial for the people. And I do like the white walls in here, but it just doesn't work out for the rest of the castle. But anyway, ignore me. It wouldn't be beneficial, so they would have smaller castles. That and areas like Romania, they don't store heat as much. These are very, very cold areas. So I would have imagined that they probably also have smaller windows in order to retain heat. Like, you just don't want that much heat escaping from your homes. It's also actually, funnily enough, a reason why a lot of British new builds, if you don't know what a British new build is, go and watch my video where I built a site. And I'm also thinking of building another British new build site, because I feel like my building has improved since then, and I feel like I've got the capabilities to make a better British new build site. But if you don't know what it is, just search it up on Google. British new builds have been heavily criticized for having smaller windows than traditional British homes. And one of the main reasons of this is that it is more cost effective to build a house with smaller windows, because it will retain heat better than building a house with triple paned windows, which will be more expensive for the buyer and more expensive for the builders to actually make. So I feel like both of those ideas come and go hand in hand with each other when it comes to why they didn't have necessarily big windows back then. And that, again, defense castles, you just need all of the defense. So that was one of the reasons. So it was like a combined effort of having small windows and having white walls that just created this very empty feeling in the rooms. And I was just like, I can't hack it. I'm trying, but I can't. So I just ended up getting the bricks, as you can see, and I just ended up using them all throughout the castle in order to make it feel a little bit more closed in and feel a little bit more homey. These things I'm putting on the side I got from Gate Famous. I don't think I like them. I might just delete them before you download the build, because at that moment I was just trying to make that build look more filled in, but as I look at it in retrospect, it looks quite filled in, so I might just get rid of them. But anyway, I originally said before in this talkover, in this, what do you call this thing? What am I doing? I'm talking to you. I'm just going to say this little talk I'm having on top of the build. I originally said I was going to discuss what the majority of the packs I used in order to recreate this medieval effect within my build. So what I used predominantly, obviously, was the Life and Death pack. I don't feel like you can really achieve this with that. Well, actually, you really do need the Life and Death pack. You need it because the roof and tiles are Life and Death, the exterior walls are Life and Death, and a lot of the doors are Life and Death, the fireplaces are Life and Death. So you will need quite a bit of the Sims 4 Life and Death expansion pack for that. What you would also need is you would need Snow Escape, because I believe Snow Escape has some of the best stuff when creating very medieval like stuff, especially for the windows and things. So I think Snow Escape is one of the key factors you would need externally for this build. What you would also need is, what else would you need? You would need potentially the castle kit, but I feel like I use minimal stuff from the castle kit, except for like the draw arches. You'll just probably have to use plain arches, but beyond that, you could be really fun with it with debug as well, and just utilize normal arches, and then again like one of the debug mini iron gates, and just like, what's it called, shift 9 it all the way up until it kind of looks like your own little draw arch kind of thing. But I think I want to use like very minimal of the castle because you can easily replace it. It might ruin some of like the aesthetic, but like, I feel like you can really easily replace that. I also use heavy amounts of Get Together, because originally when I heard about the Life and Death pack, I was like, do you know what pack will pair with this absolutely beautifully? The Life and Death pack. So I use quite a bit of the Life and Death pack, the Get Together pack, because it has a lot of the Tudor-like elements that belonged in the medieval time. Oh my god, out of all the videos I have watched about Bran Castle, I didn't find out when it was built. So that is my bad. But yeah, I use quite a bit of that. And then in the pack, I use a majority of like, because it is Dracula's Castle. It's the Vampires pack. It's everywhere that you look, you'll see elements of the Vampires pack. It is everywhere, from the organs to the beds to the like carpet, and the rugs and everything. I use quite a big amount, and even the chairs. Like, I use a lot of the Vampires pack, and I've always said the Vampires pack is one of the pinnacle packs when you want to make very gothic, like old gothic revival like stuff. But in this sense, it's been like the pinnacle of making this look as Dracula-esque as possible. Even the little tapestry, as you can see in the background, and the curtains, all vampire. The candle thing on top of the table, not the chandelier, because the chandelier is Life and Death. The candle thing on top of the table, vampires. All of it is vampires. So like, I believe like it is one of the like biggest things you need in order to like have this all in a pack. What I also use a lot of is, as I'm placing down these bookshelves, is the Discovery University, because again, Discovery University has quite a lot of old looking furnishings and stuff like that, and I thought, especially when it comes to making the library, that it'll be a really cool addition. But again, you can easily replace this, because we did get good bookshelves with Life and Death that also can fit alongside the fireplace. It's just, I was like, aesthetics before anything, so I chose to use these bookshelves. And I also did end up using Discovery University, I think, chairs and sofas in this area. So I was just like, in my head, if I'm already using Discovery University, I might as well just go for the bookshelf route. But you can also find really good bookshelves from the Life and Death pack that can go as substitute for this. So don't worry if you don't have Discovery University. And what else? I use a tiny bit of Cottage Living. I don't use a whole entirety of that. I feel like you could like really supplement a lot of the stuff I use for Cottage Living. Oh, and I forgot one of the biggest ones ever. I used Horse Ranch. Horse Ranch has just this really good lived in, well exhausted furnishing type of textures on the stove, specifically on the counters. As you can see now, as I'm doing the kitchen, truly did not mean to do that, because I just go up and down all over the place when building this castle. So like, I go between the levels. But yeah, they've got a lot of really good lived-in stuff, kind of looking stuff. So it looks like, oh yeah, someone has definitely like been working on these things for such a long time. So that's what I also use for the kitchen. So like, I'll say those are the majority of the stuff that I use to make this castle. But yeah, with an overall emphasis with the Life and Death pack, that's what I use. And it just also, oh no, I've also forgot, I use I was about to say Paramount. No. I use a lot of, so sorry, I'm just moving my leg because I'm sitting on it and the video is very long, so. I do end up using quite a bit of paranormal stuff, for the sake of the paintings, because we don't have that many paintings. So I thought that would be good, because as many paintings as we do have, the vampire stuff does allow us to have a lot of paintings. Also, you can see right here, hold on, before I talk about the paintings, you can see like right here, a lot of things have changed beyond this and the previous recording. The reason why everything has changed is that, one, I found that I was waiting for the, what's it called? I was waiting for the move objects, not move objects. Is it, no, what is it called? Oh my gosh, the Better Build By updates and stuff like that. But I was looking on the wrong thing. I was looking at an old post on Patreon, waiting for an update for Better Build By from Tristan Maxi? No. Yeah, the person who makes Tool. I'll try and find the name. I was trying to find, I was looking for a Better Build By in that area. But then I found out, I was like, no, you're not doing enough research. Come on, do enough research. So then I ended up researching again. And I went through the website this time rather than just went on the latest Patreon link that I showed up on Google. And I found out that, yeah, they did update it quite early on as well, like in October. So I was like, I've been suffering for no reason. And it was really good. It was really beneficial because this time I felt like I was a lot more concentrated when making the interior design, because I was not tempted by Felix Andre's Gothic revival, because Felix Andre is one of the greatest CC creators when it comes to making Gothic, very old architecture looking stuff, very new architecture stuff as well. Like the basics pack they do in collaboration with Harry is an amazing pack when you want to have like furnishing that looks really like IKEA-esque. Like it's just so good. It's very basic as the name intends, but Felix Andre is absolutely amazing when it comes to making stuff to do with like very traditional, very old architecture. Like they have different types of packs when it comes to making churches, to making castles, to making just like a lot of really fun old furnishings. And if I could use CC for this, I wouldn't, because it would be annoying to tag, as I'm still in the process of tagging my old terminal apartment build. So like it's a lot to find with CC. But if I was, I would be using a lot of their stuff because they have amazing arches, amazing windows, and amazing furnishings. It's just the only problem is that it's not aligned to Bran Castle's aesthetic. Bran is more aligned to maybe like British castles, Scottish castles, or even like Spanish castles, but it's not like really aligned to a lot of like Bran Castle's aesthetic. Bran Castle's aesthetic is more like, again, like I said before, I keep bringing it up, very defensive. It's just not, it's not a castle you're thinking of. Like, I think in the UK, there are quite a lot of defensive castles as well, but they do get overshadowed by the grandiose. Like, they do become quite grand as the need of defense had dwindles down. For example, one of the castles I learned a lot about in school was Kenilworth Castle. It was built as a defense castle, and if you go and visit it, it has still got that defense elements in it from the, was it? I'm forgetting. This was years ago, guys. This is almost 10 years ago. But I'm pretty sure there is like water that runs underneath a bridge to go to Kenilworth Castle. And I'm pretty sure it was built, I don't think it was built in the style of Motte and Bailey though. Was it? I don't know. I might just pulling that out of nowhere. But yeah, I do know that that was once a defensive castle, but it ended up changing. And then obviously as, is it the Duke of Leicester? I'm not too sure, but I do know he was very good friends with Queen Elizabeth I. Got hold of the castle. It did become more grand, and they did end up making that Elizabethan garden, which was like in honor of Queen Elizabeth, even though Queen Elizabeth was like, I still not marrying you. I'm not doing that. So, yeah, that's what I can think of. Like they just over time get more grandiose the less they need it to be defensive, because all the defense tactics that they needed at the moment, I think Kenilworth was used as a barrier between a lot of lords and the people, because they were either trying to increase taxes or so. Again, I could be mixing up my history. There is a lot of British history here, so it's really hard to maintain that, and also maintain my knowledge of Romanian history, and also the other things that I choose to learn, because I do a lot of things. Like I feel like my mind is getting even more like like messy. Like I generally am struggling now to concentrate on one thing at a time. I'm trying my hardest now to say things at a steady pace and not, jump all over the place. But yeah, what you saw me doing earlier, which I completely forgot to talk about because I was just so much in my own element, I was doing the bedroom of one of the children. So I combined a lot of different people to get into this castle because we have a lot of Dracula-esque content within media. So it's like, okay, who do I pick? Do I pick a singular family or do I mesh the families? And in the end, I decided to mesh the families because I really wanted to include every single type of, not every single type, but one of the main Dracula-esque content that we have throughout films and TV shows. So I picked from three fandoms or three fandom bases. I picked from, obviously, Hotel Transylvania. It's got Transylvania in the name, so I had to pick a character from there. And then I also picked someone from Monster High because I was like, let's have something a little bit fun. And I never really talk about Monster High that often, even though I really, really, really loved the show growing up. And then the last one is a little bit niche, unless you've lived in the UK. I picked someone from Young Dracula. Now, if you don't know about Young Dracula, get to know about Young Dracula. Please, 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 if you can, search up any content regarding Young Dracula and watch it from season 1 up to whenever it decides to finish. There are like two different two different versions of Young Dracula. There's the one when he's like very young, when he's about like 10 and trying to understand his place as the chosen one, the chosen vampire and all of that kind of thing. But then there's also another version where there's like, he takes a gap. We don't really know about him during the ages of 14, 15 and all of that. And he comes back, I think in sixth form. And that's when I truly fell in love with Young Dracula. I was like, this is crazy. Like Young Dracula was my Vampire Diaries. Young Dracula was that show for me. And it was everything to me. So I was like, I have to somehow include this because this is pinnacle vampirism, which funnily enough, I've never actually made a vampire in The Sims. When I went and tried to make these characters, I was just seeing like shiny new objects tag that you see in cast when you've never touched something before. And I was like, is there more life and death stuff that I didn't see? No, it's funny because I've never created a vampire in The Sims. I've used all the content, even went to Forgotten Hollow, but I've never actually created a vampire. So they were like, oh, you created a vampire for the first time. Here's all the little cool things that you can do with it. Cause I normally create, spellcasters. I haven't even created werewolves either. I just downloaded a lot of stuff for the worlds and the building content and the gameplay, but like, Cat, I've said this before, Cass, I genuinely do not know what's going on with it. The whole reason why this was supposed to come out on Friday, the whole reason this is 2 days delayed is because I was staring at my Cass and I was like, do I want to do this? Now, I know I could have gotten a sim from the gallery. I'm pretty sure the sims that I do use in this, you can get them on the gallery, but I was like, no, I'm going to try it this time. I need to advance my building skills. And yeah, so that's what I ended up doing. And right now you can see me doing the heir's room. So the heir has actually a sitting area with the organ downstairs and is completely separated for the rest of the houses, rest of the building. And then they've got their own area up top. So they've got the very like special suite that an heir would have. And then obviously the reigning king, almost, I would say, has the 2 big upper level floors as well as a separate bathroom. And then the spare has what you saw me build an area with all the blue stuff and everything like that. But anyway, so who did I pick in the end? So from Hotel Transylvania, I had to pick Count Dracula. Like, I think he is someone you can obviously look at and be like, yeah, that's Dracula. Because I was originally thinking maybe I could do Mavis, but I was like, Mavis, you could get confused with like a lot of people because she's just got a bob. Like, she's got gothic aesthetic and a bob. You can easily get confused. But the broad shoulders, the big chin, the pointy ears, and the dark eyeliner of Count Dracula from Hotel Transylvania is something you cannot necessarily miss. So I was like, okay, he is the first person that I will use as inspiration. So he is the overall king. He is very different from the actual Vladimir Dracula, because that person is crazy. I was listening to a documentary about his life because I've watched Dracula, the film, and I was like, this is wild, but a lot of films like do like, make things sound crazy than they actually are. But when I was hearing the documentary, I was like, this man was scary. The things okay, I'm not going to go too deep into it just because I'm trying to keep my monetization up. But what you think about impaling, and whether you think that it's actually as bad as you think. Yeah, it is as bad as you think, and worse if not. Like, and alive. They were alive during this process. And I was just like, oh, and he did this thousands of times. And I was just like, this guy is so, I just don't even know how to describe him. Like, no wonder people thought he was a creature, because like, how can someone even like, no, I'm not even going to go too deep into it because it's actually making me feel like really sick thinking about it. But anyway, so that's how I picked Count Dracula as the first person. And then as the heir, I picked Draculaura. So you're probably thinking, okay, so how did you name these things? Did you put Count as the first name? Yes, I did. And so you're probably thinking, okay, so then how did you name the heir then? Because if the last name is Dracula, how did you, Draculaura, Dracula. That is her name. And it might sound a little bit odd. It might sound a little bit weird. But that is generally a name that could exist in real life. Not Dracula, of course, because Dracula comes actually from Drac, which is also similar to like Drac or Draco or Draconin. Draco, obviously Draco Malfoy, and Draconin as the language from House of Dragon and Game of Thrones is also from the same language family as Drac, which all means dragon in some way. Because obviously Romania has very Latin roots. Is a lot of people say that Romanian, if you look at the language, can sound a lot like Latin because it's one of them. The Eastern European countries that have heavy Latin roots, also from the name Romania. But yeah, a lot of documentaries have been going into the making of a lot of these houses. But yeah, so I ended up choosing Dracula because I never truly have as much fun as I do making these people. And then obviously the last one I decided to have in this beautiful castle was a Vladimir Dracula, also known as Vladdy for anyone who's watched Young Dracula. They called him Vladdy a lot. He is the chosen one, which I'm actually seeing there's a lot of like similarities between Young Dracula and Harry Potter, because he is the chosen one, but he's also found out to also be half vampire, half human, which he never thought of before, which is the same as Harry Potter, who is like half Muggle, half human, like half Muggle, half wizard. So like, yeah, he's got like these crazy powers. And one of my favorite scenes of all time is when he like takes the poison from his sister and he's like crying it out and it's like all black and everything. And I loved his relationship with Erin. I think that really sparked my entire infatuation with like that kind of like angsty romantic kind of vibe. But yeah, anyway, this is Dracula's Castle, also known as Bran Castle. Please, if you have the time, read up more about this, because I'm pretty sure I just got all my information messed up, so that could be my bad. But yeah, also, please note things in the description that say that this could take 48 hours for me to put on the gallery, because I'm not always on The Sims. So sometimes, I am always on The Sims, but I'm not always remembering that I have to go back to this build on a different save to upload this thing. So I'll try and get it done under 24 hours, but the latest will always be 48 hours. But yeah, anyway. If you liked this, don't forget to watch my other videos like the medieval castle, the medieval village, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, but if you don't want to, that's also okay. I appreciate you staying this long and listening to all of my rambles. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below. I read all the comments, the more the area, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.